In this video, we're going to sort of reverse engineer the Northwind, some of the database structure of Northwind. So we have some table here, and so we're turning it into a normalization exercise. So we have this data, order ID, order date, product ID, product name, quantity, price, and we want to perform, so that was the result of some query, and we want to sort of reverse engineer and get the table out of it. And the first question is, from the data above, does it look as though the field order ID can serve as a primary key for the table? So it is the sort of the first thing, and it's called an ID. So is it the ID for this table? Is it the primary key for this table? It might be the primary key for some table, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's the primary key for this table. And we start off right away and we say, no, it's repeated. 10248 appears 3 times in the first 3 rows. So that, it cannot be a primary key for this table. What about product ID? Maybe product ID is the proper ID, and no, here is 51 and here is 51 again. So order ID cannot be primary key, it's repeated. Product ID is not the primary key, it is repeated. And like one of them would not give me another. And another way of talking about that is just talking about order and product and sort of getting what I call the relationship statement. An order may have many products. We saw that here, that this order 10248 had a number of products. And the other half of the statement is a product may be in many orders. And we saw that with product 51 here was in more than one order. So one more time, an order may have many products. A product may be in more than one order. So if when you say those two statements, always beginning with a and then on the other end saying one or many. In this case, both answers were many. And so it's a many-to-many relationship. So we know that we're going to have like a bridge table in the end. So if we think our entities here are orders and products, that's going to be a many-to-many relationship and require a bridge table. All right, but let's get on with it as a normalization exercise. Okay, so what was order ID a primary key? No. Was product a primary key? No. But what about them as a pair? Do they determine everything? I think I can get the order date from the order ID. I can get the product name from the product ID. I can get the quantity from the combination. And I can get the price. The price is the iffy one. The price, in Northwinds, they will put price with the product. And sometimes I see price with the product, and maybe you put it in the bridge table, in the order line table, to say that maybe that item was on sale when the person bought it, or possibly there's been some inflation and the price has gone up, but you want to stick to the price. You want to know the price when they ordered it, or something like that. So I've seen price in the order detail table. I've seen it in the product table, and occasionally I've seen it in both. Okay. But so let's go on with the exercise. So order ID, product ID as a composite ID can serve as the primary key for the data we are seeing. So whether all the other things can be these two things either alone or as a combination are determinant of every other field, every other column that we see in the data. So now we're asking for the functional dependencies. So the order ID, we'll say, is giving us the order date. Let me move this down to one page. Okay. So the order ID is giving us the order date. The product ID is giving us the product name. What else did we have up there? The order date, the product name, the quantity came from a combination. Product ID, the combination gave us the quantity. I can order different amounts of things in the same order. Here I've ordered 5 of this and 12 of that and 10 of the other. So the quantity is not defined just by the order ID, and it's not defined just by the product ID. Here I ordered 40 dried apples, and here we ordered 35. So it's not determined by either one individually. It needs the pair. Now, the way this data is, the dried apples were 53 for both, and this is how Northwind's is. They have the price in the product table. So I'll put it there. But I will say then it's sensible to put it in the bridge table, what Northwind calls order details, and it would be sensible to have it in both the product and the order details. I've seen that, to sort of say this is the normal price or the current price or however we're thinking about what's in the product table. And then this was the price on the day of the order of the sale. So I think that can make sense. Okay. So those are our functional dependencies. All the fields that we saw are sort of accounted for. Which of those are partials? The first two. The last one depended on the full primary key, so I'm not going to call that a partial. So these are sort of proper subsets of our primary key. So our primary key was order ID, product ID. Order ID by itself is a proper subset. Product ID is a proper subset. But order ID, product ID is not a sort of a proper subset. It's the whole thing. Okay, and now we're going to decompose the table. And so we're going to say that there was an order with an order ID and an order date. Those are the things here that second normal form is telling us to pull out. And then we need the product ID or the product table with the product ID and the product name. And we'll go with the price there. And then we said that the order product table was a bridge table. And I will often name a bridge table just as the two tables I'm bridging. So I might call it order product. But I'll stick with what Northwind calls it order details. I've also seen it called order line. But we'll call it order details. And so let's indicate this as the primary key. Let's indicate this as a primary key. Order details, we know we're going to have the product ID and the order ID, and that's where the quantity goes. And then we have a choice here. Do we want we can use product ID and order ID as a composite primary key for this table, or we can introduce and at sort of uh, a single field primary key for this table, sort of our chart. So let's again stick with what we're trying to resurrect. We're trying to bring back this Northwind. So let's do what they do, which is order detail ID. So they introduce for this table an ID, a primary key, a single field primary key, and then these are foreign keys. I'll label them as foreign keys. And then we have sort of reconstructed. We don't have all of the properties, but we have orders table with order ID and order date, connecting to order details with the order detail ID that we just introduced, the order ID, the product ID, the quantity. We had all those. And products table, we had the product ID and the product name and the price. So as much as what was in our original data, we have reconstructed this Northwind from this normalization exercise. Okay, that's it for this one. Thanks for your attention.